Welcome to Jade's Falcon. I'm Jade. This is my Falcon. Check it out. Hey guys, it's Mick here and welcome back to Jade's Falcon. On today's episode, I'm going to put a jumper on and then we're going to go and tinker around with the V8 inside of this Falcon. I'm pretty keen because we've got some new bits and pieces to put on. Hopefully we can get some action out of this car. Maybe we can even get it started. So stick with me guys and check this out. Okay, here we are in the engine bay of the Falcon, guys. Today we're going to spend some time trying to get this engine to a point where it might actually be able to be started up and ran today. So fingers crossed we have a pretty good run. I have some new parts over here in a box. We've got a distributor assembly. The engine didn't have one when we bought the car, so we've purchased this one here. I've also got some brand new leads to go with it. So that's all our stuff we're going to be dealing with today. I've also got an engine oil filter and some fresh oil. So before I start playing around with all this new gear and putting it on the engine, I'm going to have the oil draining. So it can drain while I'm doing that to make sure that we get all of the old oil out before we put some fresh stuff in. Now, I have cranked this engine over, first of all, by hand with a bar, and then we popped the battery in there and we got it to crank over to make sure everything was free. We checked all the plugs out. The plugs look good. There's no excess carbon. They look to have been burning fuel relatively well back when this engine was running. We have no idea what condition this engine is in other than it turns over and it was missing bits. So once these pieces are on this car, I'm going to run some fresh fuel from the fuel pump up to the carby because we don't want to draw anything out of this tank. It's probably full of gunk or old fuel or something. Bottom line is whatever's in that tank is not going to be healthy for this engine. We'll have to do another video on cleaning out the tank. But in the meantime, just watch what we can get done here with this engine. Hopefully we can get it started by the end of the day. I'm going to start ticking away with it, guys. Stay tuned. There's our oil draining out, guys. It's pretty black. Didn't look like there was any bits in there. That's the plug there. Wasn't any metal on the plug. So she might be all good, just old oil. This is our new distributor. Look at that. Looks pretty flash, doesn't it? So I'm going to test fit it in there first. Make sure it goes in and it lines up all right. Look at that. That's the go. So that fit down, that went in nicely. Just had to move the rotor button a little bit to line the cog up with the cam, but that fits in nicely. So the next step now is to actually get this timed up correctly with the engine. So we've got to work out where top dead is. We have to work out our firing order, where this needs to face for cylinder 1. And I think it's going to need to sit like this so that the module here is out the way of the thermostat housing and the vacuum for timing is out the way of the thermostat housing as well. So we're probably going to set it something like that once it goes in. I want to put a little bit of lube on the bottom of the shaft because it sits down in the block and it rotates inside where it sits. So I might put a little bit of oil on that. The other thing as well we want to do is we want to get this shaft in. Now, to get it to stay in the distributor so that it goes down and lines up with the pump, there's a couple different methods we can try. But I'm going to maybe just wedge a bit of paper in there. That's one of the methods, just a little bit of paper to hold that firm. And then we can sort of get it down and in. But before I do that, let's time this engine up. We'll get it in top dead center. Then we'll have a look for our firing order and what way the distributor needs to face. And then we'll try and put it all in, all lined up correctly. Okay, so this is our distributor. This is our oil pump drive shaft. Now I've just put a little bit of masking tape at the top of it and slot it in, and it's holding it in there nice and firm. This is so it doesn't drop out while I'm trying to put it in. We've got our distributor is going to sit like this. And so that then needs to face where right there, which will be cylinder 1 for our firing order. Hopefully this lines up and goes in relatively well. I do have the engine up at top dead, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in and hopefully it fits. All right, that seems to be about on the money. How's that look from up here? Can't really tell. But what I was attempting to do is get our rotor button to line up here, which is where cylinder 1's supposed to be in our firing order. So now if I sit this cap on top of the distributor in line where it's supposed to go, where are we? About here somewhere. There. So about there. So that there's supposed to be number 1. So if we lift that up, that looks to be where it's facing there at number 1. Right, so now what we need to do, there we go, that's on there. So that's number 1 there. That's it there. So number 1. So I can put this on now. Now I've just got to get the retaining plate down the bottom. So there's a retaining plate now that'll go down over the bottom of the distributor, and there'll be a nut that goes on that retaining plate. There we go. That's all the way down. It's good. See if I can get our retaining plate on there. Actually, you can see this plate here is pretty dirty, and then on the back it's actually all shiny and stuff. So I might quickly go clean this plate up before I put it on. It's just one of them things that you get fussy about. Right, so here's our retainer plate now. Look at that. All shiny. Looks brand new. So this is the one we're going to use. Right, now let's have a look at our coil. Let's see what we got going on here. So we do have new leads. I'm sure there'll be a couple of wires coming off this coil somewhere that are supposed to go to the ignition. That's an earth. That one there. It's a power, and then there's another one here. So this is another power wire. So this must have to go to the bottom of the coil, I would assume. But we'll first check to see what's going on with this one. So we've got it powered up, we'll know. So we want to put some crimp terminals on here, and we'll go to our positive and our negative supply off our coil there, which that should reach pretty well to there. We'll tidy it up later. Maybe it can go around the back here, something like that. But yeah, we'll do that in a moment. Let's have a look at firing order and see if we can get some leads on here where they're supposed to go. So just using the internet to figure out our firing order, we've got 15426378 is a firing order. Let's pull these leads out and see what we got. We have a total of 9 leads, because I would like to replace the one on the coil, but I don't think we do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do have 9 leads. Well, that's great news. So I imagine the absolute shortest one would have to be from the coil. So I'll lay them out and I'll see what we've got here. So we've got these ones here. These ones are probably the 2 shortest. They're about the same length, so they're the 2 shortest ones. What do we have next? What length do we have next? So we go down to these are the next 2 shortest. So we'll have them next in line. And one, yeah. This one here is a bit of an odd size. They're about the same, I suppose. They can go like that. And these three are the longest. It's not looking like any of these are going to suit the coil. They're not going to be quite right to go from the coil to the distributor. So maybe we use what we've got here just for now. And let's hope it works. Right. From our firing point 1 to cylinder 1, let's see if we can do this. Cylinder 1 is here. Now is that going to reach? Yep, that will reach. So that's supposedly number 1. I'll get this on the plug. Cool. So next in our firing order is number 5. So that would be another short one. Number 5 is down here. So get some light there so we can see. Number 5. So that's the spark plug there. There we go, that's on. Number 5 over the top and sitting there. Maybe we should come under this. Yep, we'll go under that. Oh, that's on, down there. Number 5. Rightio, now what's next? 1, 5, 4. Number 4 goes right to the very back. So that's probably going to be one of our longer ones. So we'll use one of these long ones here. Go to number 4. Number 2. This can go under and on here for number 2. There we go, number 2. Next one is number 6. So number 6 will be down here. Now let's just get that twist out of it. Okay. All right, number 3. Probably one of our longer ones. So what have we got? This one here to number 3. Okay, number 7 and then number 8. So that one there is probably a bit too short for 7. We've got a couple of longer ones here to go to 7 and 8, and they are almost the same length, just about the same length to be honest with you. Yeah, okay, so these ones will be our 7 and 8. So number 7 is here. And that can go this way. And there. And the last one, number 8. Okay, let's fill it up with some oil. I've drained the old oil out. I've put the sump plug back in. I've changed the oil filter over. It's time to put in this fresh oil. Right. Now that our engine's full of oil, it's time to change out this old fuel hose here. And once this hose is changed out, I want to put a fresh hose on the fuel pump, and then that way we can put that hose into some fresh fuel to get into this carby rather than using what's in the tank.
Try again. Probably run out of fuel, I reckon.
Okay guys, we've been very busy assembling all this stuff in the engine bay. We've got our distributor on, we've got all of our leads on, we've got some fuel hooked up to it, and we've had a bit of a play around with getting the timing right. We think it's pretty close and we're going to give it a shot. I'll have to put some fuel in there. Is it sucking fuel out of the bottle? That's the other thing as well, because that pump might not be pumping. I'll pour some fuel down into the carby.
I wonder what that noise is. That click, click. Is there anything?
Okay guys, I've got a little bit of an explaining to do about the events that have taken place, which we'll show you after I've sort of explained what's happened. Now, I had a pretty good run installing the parts on this car. Got this distributor on, all of our leads on, plugged it all up. We got some help from some of our good friends as far as timing it up and making sure that we had the correct timing. Now, we managed to get the car to fire up and run. So we've actually had this engine running. It ran for about half a minute and then it ran out of fuel because we didn't have any fuel plumbed up to our carby. Right, so the people that helped us do that, they got it running and they had to leave because they needed to cook dinner. So we went inside ourselves and had something to eat. We came out after that and then we tried to start the car on our own, knowing that it was timed up correctly. When it started this second time, it was knocking and carrying on, so I turned the car off and it is now locked up. Our engine is locked up. So you can see the absolute rigmarole that's taken place behind me with bits and pieces pulled off everywhere. I'm absolutely devastated that it locked up. But in all fairness, there was probably a 50% chance that that was going to happen to a V8 that's been sitting in a car for Lord knows how long, and it hasn't been started or turned over. So the likelihood of something being fatigued and old enough to break was definitely there. There was a huge potential for that to happen. However, I thought that we would be much luckier and get away with it. So I'll just take you through what I'm doing now. This is our engine in all of its glory, unfortunately locked up. So you can see I've got tools everywhere. I've got the rocker covers off. I've taken the rocker covers off because it sounded chattery and top end, but it's a bit hard to tell because I'm only listening to the camera footage to try and work it out. But all of our push rods are tight. There's nothing loose on any of our valve springs. Now, I've managed to actually wind the engine back. So, luckily enough, I've actually managed to get the engine to wind backwards, right? So you can hear that compression. I can also hear something dragging, so it doesn't sound great, but I've been able to wind it back. And it stops there. Stops rock hard. So that's about a turn. It seems that whatever's happened is it's happened at the point of one revolution where it's locking up once it goes back that far. And then when I move it, I can move it forwards now. And as I come forwards and come back around roughly a revolution, we'll hit that spot again, that tight spot where it wants to lock up again. Boom, just like that. There it is. So The reason I wanted to pull these rocker covers off was because it did sound like it was top end and it did sound like it was chattery, but it may very well have been bottom end. It may have very well been a rod or anything going on in the sump there. Now, I was hoping that once it freed up, it would actually turn over and I'd be able to make sure that all of our valves are opening and closing correctly. But I'm starting to think that whatever's happened is happened to our rotating assembly. I'm not convinced that it's in the cam or on the lifters or anything like that. It seems that we're getting movement out of all of our rockers up the top here. They all seem to be doing what they should be doing. And then, boop, stops right there. And if I go back this way, oh, stops right there. So the only thing I can think to do before ripping this engine out is seeing if I can get the sump off while it's sitting in the car. And then we can have a look at all of our big ends and all of our mains and see what's going on, and maybe even give it a bit of a crank over to see what's moving. But I've backed it off to a point now where it should be able to move both clockwise and anti-clockwise, so it's not hard up against its dead spot. I'm going to have to jack the car up, slide under, see if we can pull the sump out. If we can't pull the sump out, well then, it's a very sad day for us, because rebuilding an engine is not cheap. We really wanted to avoid doing this for as long as we possibly could, so that we could at least drive the car and enjoy it without spending too much money on it. But yeah, disaster has taken place. Tragedy has struck, and we now have a motor that locks up in one point. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to get underneath it and yeah, see if we can pull the sump off. You can see I've already taken a heap of stuff. I've taken the radiator out, took the fan off of it, so it was easy to get in and bar it over so that I could actually have a bit of a feel of what's going on. But yeah, I think that we're just going to have to drop this sump off if we can, and if not, then it's engine out. And if we're taking this engine out, then we'll just have to work out what we're going to do, whether we make some money happen somewhere to rebuild it. But yeah, I'm going to get stuck into it, guys. Let's see if we can find out what's going on with this engine. Long story short, it's probably more likely going to be a rebuild. Look, if it's something simple, which I doubt it is, it usually takes something a little more complicated to lock a motor up. But let's just see how we go and see what we can make of it. Okay, guys, so that brings us to the end of episode part 1 of our broken engine saga. Now, bit of a spoiler alert, full disclosure is that I have already investigated the issue of the engine, and that will be on the next episode. Also, I have a little treat for you guys on the next episode. There's a silver lining involved. Unfortunately, this engine, like you've already seen, is not very healthy at all, and that's thrown a spanner in the works for us. But we are going to stay positive, we are going to be proactive, and we're going to sort this out and hopefully get this whole girl back on the road and in healthier condition than ever. Stay tuned, guys.